Hey folks, I know it's been a little while since we've had a video that wasn't either a live stream or the podcast. I'm I have been buried in stuff. I don't want to go so far as to say that I've gotten burned out, but like I need to slow down a little bit. I had insanely packed May, back half of April. June's shaping up to be pretty packed too. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to talk about a game that I played a little bit ago. Also played it on stream some. Sundered, Eldritch Edition. Now, this is a game from Thunder Lotus, who it's been very interesting me getting into their other games, because what I first found them on was Spiritfarer, and their other games have been a very different can of worms. Spiritfarer might well be my favorite video game, full stop. I really, really adore that game. But it doesn't bear a lot of mechanical similarities to their other games. I've already talked about Jotun. I did that a little while ago. So this was one that they made, I believe, between Jotun and Spiritfarer, if I have the timeline right. I could be wrong about that. But regardless, this is a Metroidvania, which is a genre that I like very much. It's also a genre with a pretty rigid formula, and it comes down to just like nailing the specifics and bringing an aesthetic that is enjoyable. And I think this does that pretty well. First of all, it's Thunder Lotus, so the animation is gorgeous, like stunning animation for you, for your attacks, for the enemies, for the bosses. Like the animation is astounding in this. They're always good for that. But it really kind of goes on display in something as hectic as this, that they're able to have, such fluid animation when there's so much going on. And so, like I said, this does pretty much stick to the standard Metroidvania formula. You start, in this area, you explore the map. As you go, you will pick up new abilities. Sometimes it's combat abilities, sometimes it's traversal abilities. New traversal abilities will be what grants you access to new areas that you haven't been to before, to find new challenges, to get more stuff, to expand more of the map. It follows that pretty straightforwardly, and most of the abilities are kind of standard. Like eventually you get a grappling hook. Double jump's one of the first ones you get. There's a wall run. You start out being able to at least do wall jump, so that one's standard. But it's that sort of thing. So what it has for itself is the aesthetic and the feel, and also honestly some of the structure, because there's effectively three paths. One of them isn't really worth taking. So as you might have guessed from the title, this has a lot of Lovecraft influence. So you find yourself in this space being guided by a disembodied voice speaking a very eldritch sounding language. You get it translated in text, but probably not the sort of thing you should be siding with, but it says it's gonna help you. So what do you do? So as far as that goes, as you go, when you beat bosses, you will get Eldritch shards. And when you beat mini bosses, you will get pieces of a shard. 3 pieces give you a full Eldritch shard. And the Eldritch shards you can do one of two things with. Either you can use them to corrupt the abilities that you've gotten as you go. So like you can corrupt the wall run so that because the standard wall run, you run out of wall and you go straight up it. You corrupt it and you can just stay there. You can move freely up, down, or just stay. You couldn't otherwise. You could either wall run or slowly slide down, but you couldn't just stay there, and you couldn't change direction partway through. So that it does that kind of thing, and also like can impact some of your combat abilities and stuff like that. Or the alternative is to destroy the Eldritch shards, and in which case, if you do that, you get a completely different suite of abilities and upgrades. So what I thought was going to happen when the Eldritch shards were introduced was, my options are either going to be use these things to make it easier, And that gets me the bad ending, or don't use any of them, don't get the upgrades as a result, so it's much harder, and then I get the good ending. It's not quite that straightforward, though, because you definitely still get benefits and upgrades choosing to destroy the Elder Shards. You just get different ones. And I do think that that path is ultimately harder. Not by a huge margin, but it is a bit harder going that way. Than it is to just embrace the darkness and corrupt all your abilities. But what I mentioned, there's technically 3. Like, technically, you could mix and match, destroy some, and use some to corrupt abilities. As far as an ending goes, there's not really any benefit for doing that. You kind of get a non-ending. And it's not even a matter of the ending. Like, it's a completely different final boss if you corrupt everything or if you destroy all the shards. I guess minor spoiler. There's sort of, you sort of face 2 bosses at the end going either of those paths. There's like an initial boss that you face, and then there is whatever the final form of the boss is. And that completely changes depending on what path you're on. If you mix and match, you only fight the initial final boss and you don't get a second form, then the game's just over. So there really isn't a point in mixing and matching unless you've just like beaten it already and you just kind of want to play around with different combinations. I suppose that's valid. I wouldn't play it for that purpose. But like, I did play this thing all the way through technically 3 times, because the first time I accidentally mixed and matched. Like, I accidentally corrupted an ability when I didn't fully realize what that meant. And so at that point I should have committed to just doing a corruption run there. I didn't. I went back and forth. And so I have actually played through and beaten the game all the way through 3 times. And I enjoyed it all 3 times because the experience does change enough between the 2 different paths of upgrades that it does feel and play different. Not massively substantially, but like enough that it doesn't just feel like, oh, I literally have to do all the same stuff just so I can see something different at the end. Even though, like, technically you do, but the way you get to go about them and what abilities you get to do it do change, and that does alter the way the game plays on a second playthrough if you choose to go a different path. Here's one of the things I really appreciate about this. So, normally in a Metroidvania, your enemies are specifically placed. You know, you go into certain areas, certain rooms, there's this layout of enemies. This game doesn't do that. Now, I don't want to act like the enemies are completely willy-nilly and it's a free-for-all. In different certain sections of the map, you will get certain types, and as you get deeper into that map, they will become more difficult to get rid of, and more powerful versions of those same types. So it's not like just all over the place. But the thing is, they're not in fixed positions. Instead, what happens is intermittently, they horde you, and they will hunt you if you try to run away. And the game, like, as it went on, I kind of figured out some of the mechanics behind this. It does basically like rubber band them up ahead of you, so you feel like you've I was about to get away, but now they're right in front of me. And I really love the feel of the Horde events, like when that happens, because the game, with the way the combat works, because like most enemies, not all, but most, unless they have a shield function, which some of them do, but anything without a shield, and once you take down the shield, it's the same for other enemies too, you can basically stun lock with repeated attacks, and you combo automatically. And it's not that hard to get an upgrade that also lets you attack projectiles so that they get destroyed in midair and they don't hit you either. Now, you'd think that kind of setup is going to make you, A, overpowered, and B, make it kind of boring. You're just going to button mash your way through it. You will be button mashing, but you will be doing it in panic and desperation as they come at you from all sides. Sure, you could stun lock several of them at a go, but only the ones in front of you, and there's more on their way from behind you. So even though like you still feel like you've got a fighting chance, and often you do, like there's a lot of little small things the game does to make it seem more hazardous than it is, at least on a normal difficulty. So like there's these sort of laser attacks from some of these things, and it just goes out as a shot and boom, it's this massive thing. But I noticed as I went, if I only got caught by the tail end of the beam, it might be animated, but there isn't a hitbox on the tail end of it. So you really only have to avoid the initial shot, and then the back end, while it looks like it should damage you, it's more like a comet tail. That's not actually going to hit you. But it still feels incredibly intense. And there's some parts of the map that are basically designed for you to run through as fast as you can, because the hoarding never stops in those sections. So it's not a question of like, let me just kill all these things and I'll get a breather. There are some sections of the map, the hoarding absolutely never stops. Your only option is to run. Deal with these things when they get you cornered, but run. And it's really intense. The feeling of intensity is fantastic, while at the same time being shockingly fair. That's not to say you don't die. I died a fair bit, but also because of the way the progression works, because you just get effectively experience points. They're a currency. So like from containers, from fallen enemies, from all this stuff. And you might find yourself, I'm getting pretty far, and then I'm swarmed and taken out, but it's not disheartening because like, okay, cool. I'm back at the central hub. Now I can spend my experience points and get stronger, get more health, take less damage, do more damage with the cannon that you have a certain number of limited shots on. Like it has a certain amount of roguelikeness, or roguelite rather-ness, in terms of like, yeah, you're going to get sent back to the beginning, but like now let's do some permanent upgrades. There is also a certain amount of roguelikeness to the map layout, but it's so minor. I'm not entirely sure why they bothered. Because as you go through the map, there are, the major layout of the map never changes. Like the shape of the overall thing and big set rooms like mini boss rooms and boss rooms and stuff like that never changes. There are basically the smaller rooms that comprise the bigger areas that get you from point A to point B. Those will change minorly, like where a treasure chest is will change, or like, okay, last time you left this by going down and to the left. This time you're going to go to the left and then go up and then over. And like, okay, yeah, but it's functionally not really any different. Like that difference is so minor, I'm not entirely sure they should have bothered. I suppose it does kind of lend itself to a certain amount of unpredictability when combined with the Horde element, but ultimately that kind of roguelike-y aspect, I didn't think added. It didn't detract either. Like it didn't throw me off or bother me. I did find myself wondering though, what is this adding? I'm not sure. But the overall flow of the thing, it hits you with that just one more go because, like I said, you get swarmed and get obliterated by stuff. And, you have that initial like, oh, they got me. Okay, but now I can spend these experience points and then I want to go again. I want to go again. I want to go again. So it definitely hits that one more go receptor that a good roguelike or roguelite kind of game will hit. But it's not overloaded with roguelike elements though. But it does still kind of hit that one more run thing in a way that I'm not sure I've actually experienced with Metroidvanias before. Because there aren't too many Metroidvanias I can think of where it is an intended part of the experience that you are going to die a lot. And that's the intended experience because you can't spend your experience points anywhere other than the central hub. And you start each run at the central hub. So it's very much designed to go out, get as far as you can, get killed, get back here, get stronger, go out again. So I can't think of too many Metroidvanias that have had the actual intended experience be to die this often. And it means that death rarely feels like an impediment or like, dang it. But it's more of like, okay, all right, let's go again. And I really liked this one. I think the last pure Metroidvania I played was Cookie Cutter, which was pretty good, and I did enjoy. I like this better, though. Like the looping nature of it, and how much I wanted to get back in the fray after each go. I really like. I liked Cookie Cutter, but I only played through it once. I had no interest in playing it again. This one, I'm like, let me go again. And maybe I wouldn't have done that if there wasn't like the completely different paths of either destroying or using the Elder Shards. But like, I didn't. What I always worry when a game tries to incentivize repeat full playthroughs is I'm going to get partway in and go, this isn't different enough, and drop it. And I didn't with this. And I'm not even sure if it's a matter of it was sufficiently different so much as I was enjoying the loop so much I was willing to do it again. Plus, there's going to be some differences in what abilities I get and how that's all going to play out. So, yeah, I liked this game a lot. I should have gotten to this one sooner. Definitely. Sundered, Eldritch Edition. Edition? Have you played it? What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help me out as well. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now it's time to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Quite Bearish, Zubin Lafula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casper, Dave Hall, Andre, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Iron, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. We have a new little guy here under my hair. That's Satyr. So yes, he can now join in the distraction chorus as I try to read names. Thanks, guys. Welcome to the family.